Unbelievable word magic used to mislead the public, navigating sovereignty and federal authority, voluntary U.S. taxation, and the constitutional dichotomy of rights and privileges. Author's note: this article provides an in-depth examination of the United States revenue system and the constitutional principles that have shaped it over time. By exploring the voluntary nature of federal taxation, the bifurcation of jurisdiction between common law states and federal territories, and the constitutional evolution from absolute rights to relative privileges, this analysis aims to clarify how individual choices influence their relationship with government oversight. Ultimately, it argues that the contemporary revenue system presents U.S. citizens with a pivotal choice, to either engage with the federal, privilege-based system or to operate within the traditional common law framework. Introduction. The U.S. Constitution, framed in 1787 and effective since 1789, was designed to establish a federal government with limited, enumerated powers that would coexist with, yet not infringe upon, the sovereign authority of individual states. This unique balance, federal authority tempered by state sovereignty, aimed to preserve citizens' rights while promoting national cohesion. However, shifts in monetary policy and public finance, particularly during and after the Great Depression in 1933, have expanded the federal government's reach, especially through revenue generation and economic oversight. The establishment of the Federal Reserve System, the move away from the gold standard, and the broadening of federal jurisdiction in economic matters have collectively reshaped American citizenship. Today, citizens face fundamental questions regarding individual sovereignty, the voluntary nature of federal taxation, and the choice between upholding absolute constitutional protections or participating in a system of conditional privileges provided by federal oversight. This choice is not merely academic, it represents a critical juncture in how Americans define their individual and collective rights within the federal framework. Constitutional jurisdiction, common law and federal authority. The Constitution, directly derived from the Articles of Confederation, created a federal structure that respected the independence of each state. This dual framework establishes two forms of rights and jurisdictions. 1. Common law jurisdiction. Rooted in the original Bill of Rights, common law jurisdiction was intended to protect individuals' absolute rights against federal interference. These rights include freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and due process, as explicitly guaranteed in the first 10 amendments. In common law states, individuals are not compelled to pay income tax unless they voluntarily engage in the federal economic system. This voluntary nature arises from the individual's choice to file IRS forms, such as the W-4, indicating participation in federal jurisdiction. The doctrine of voluntary compliance aligns with Article I, Section 10 of the Constitution, which upholds individuals' rights to enter into contracts and limits governmental interference unless explicitly agreed upon. This interpretation views federal income tax as a privileged tax, not a direct obligation, applicable only to those choosing to associate themselves with the federal system through participation in federal currency contracts and credit systems. As a result, income tax becomes a matter of personal choice within constitutional boundaries, allowing individuals to choose to participate under the federal system and its privileges or to retain absolute rights under common law by refraining from voluntary participation. Exercising choice within the constitutional framework. The Constitution, through its dual jurisdiction structure, provides citizens with a meaningful option to engage with the federal system of economic privileges or remain within the protective scope of common law rights under state jurisdiction. For those who seek autonomy under common law, practical steps include minimizing reliance on federal credit systems, abstaining from federal tax filings, and conducting financial transactions within state-based institutions that are less entangled with federal jurisdiction. This choice underscores the significance of Article I, Section 10, which preserves state-based contractual rights and shields individuals from involuntary federal oversight. By opting out of federal systems, citizens assert their protections under this article, retaining control over their interactions with the federal government. Conversely, those who engage with federal economic privileges implicitly accept a framework that aligns with federal jurisdiction rather than the strict, literal protections of the Constitution. This path, while offering convenience and access to federal resources, carries with it the conditional nature of relative privileges over absolute rights. Conclusion. The S. Tax and revenue system fundamentally presents citizens with a choice reflecting two forms of citizenship, one grounded in common law with absolute constitutional rights, and another shaped by federal privileges based on voluntary participation in a debt-based economy. As the American economic landscape continues to evolve, understanding this constitutional dichotomy is essential for individuals seeking to balance personal sovereignty with federal authority. This framework of voluntary compliance and jurisdictional choice preserves the founding principles of American governance while adapting to modern financial realities, allowing citizens to choose the path that best aligns with their understanding of freedom and federal association. Footnotes 1. United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 3, Clause 1. This clause grants Congress the power to admit new states into the Union. It also restricts the federal government from creating a new state within the jurisdiction of any existing state without the state legislature and Congress's consent. 2. United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2. This clause authorizes Congress to dispose of and make rules regarding the territory or other property belonging to the United States, allowing flexible regulatory control over federal territories not incorporated within state jurisdictions. 3. Erie Railroad Company v. Tompkins, 304 U.S. 64, 1938. This landmark case established that there is no federal common law in cases where state law applies, reinforcing federal limitations in areas traditionally governed by state law. 4. United States Constitution, Article I, Section 10. This section denies certain powers to states, such as issuing bills of credit, and mandates payments for debts in gold and silver coin, establishing a hard currency standard. 5. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress, First Session, 1933. In response to the Great Depression, this resolution suspended the gold standard, allowing debts to be paid in Federal Reserve notes instead of gold, marking a shift toward a federal debt-based currency system. 6. IRS, the nature of voluntary compliance. This IRS publication explains that the federal income tax system is based on voluntary compliance, meaning individuals assess and report their tax obligations. 7. Brushaber v. Union Pac. R. Company, 240 U.S. 1, 1916. This Supreme Court case upheld the 16th Amendment, allowing Congress to levy an income tax without apportionment among the states. 8. Pollock v. Farmers Loan and Trust Company, 157 U.S. 429, 1895. This case ruled that certain taxes on income from property were direct taxes, leading to the adoption of the 16th Amendment. 9. Munn v. Illinois, 94 U.S. 113, 1877. This case allowed states to regulate private businesses when in the public interest, influencing the regulation of essential industries.